right, the American South. So this is a big portion because this is where those 4 colonies are located that we talked about just a couple lectures ago. So first we're going to talk about Jamestown. Jamestown was the first successful settlement. It was established in Virginia in 1607. The settlers who came here hoped to find gold and a waterway to China, but they were unsuccessful. The people in Jamestown were gentlemen and also unskilled servants and criminals. There were 900 settlers who arrived between 1607 and 1609, but only 60 survived, and this was due to malnutrition, dysentery, and malaria. And they started growing tobacco, and that really turned Jamestown around. Before tobacco, they were really pretty lame, nothing was going on. And then they started growing tobacco, and it became a fad among English upper class, and that's really what made them a thriving colony. Okay. The Tobacco Coast, another colony in the South. It contained the states Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia. At this time, tobacco was native to the Americas and unknown to Europe, so the European settlers who came over didn't really know what to do. But soon enough, tobacco became the #1 cash crop, and it increased need for labor. They produced 25 million pounds annually. And 80% of the immigrants in Virginia came as indentured servants. Indentured servants were the ones that worked in the fields with tobacco. They were mostly young men between 15 and 24. They came from impoverished backgrounds, or they were criminals, not very good people. They were promised 50 acres of land if they worked for 7 years. 9,000 came to the Tobacco Coast in hope, as indentured servants, in hope to gain their own land, but only 2,000 survived. Most of them didn't claim the land because they were bought and sold between owners, and they were worked to death. Many of the women were sexually abused, so it just wasn't really a good scene. All right, the Backcountry. The location of the Backcountry is the valleys on the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains. Otherwise, it's the states stretching from Pennsylvania to Georgia. The people here were Germans and Scots-Irish, and they flooded into the Backcountry between 1680 and 1750. Here they had a tough life because they farmed rocky soil and lived with few possessions. Can everybody still hear me? I don't know what just happened. Okay. So, so they had a rough life because of rocky soil, and they lived with few possessions because they were basically in the mountains. The people here were hunters, fur traders. They lived in log cabins, and majority owned no slaves. So I think an easy way to remember about the Backcountry is it's kind of just like a northern feel, like they lived in the mountains, log cabins, hunters. So it all kind of matches together. All right, Rice Coast, what contained the states South Carolina and Georgia. They grew rice and indigo, and that grew if you remember her saying in class, rice has to be completely submerged in water, so this was a extremely difficult thing for slaves to do. So they were just walking around in water and standing in the hot sun all day. There was rice shipped to both the Caribbean and Europe, and the expansion of rice production completely transformed the area. It really increased the number of slaves. Slaves became 90% of the population, and 85 million pounds of rice and indigo were produced annually. And the rice coast is significant because it really shows how much the South Carolina and Georgia relied on slavery. Are there any questions about the American South?